The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. It was bigger than anything humanity had ever built, stretching nearly 3 kilometers from end to end. Its surface was smooth and silver, covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change in the sunlight. Every telescope on Earth and the Moon turned to look at it. Inside the United Earth Assembly Building on the Moon, alarms were going off. Security teams rushed to their positions. Military commanders started giving orders. Nobody knew if this was first contact or an invasion. The ship sent a message. It was in perfect English, somehow translated by technology humans didn't understand. The message was simple. We wish to speak with your leaders. Send representatives to discuss Earth's future in the galactic community. Admiral Sarah Chen was in the command center when the message arrived. She was 52 years old with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had spent 30 years in space leading humanity's expansion to Mars and beyond. She had commanded the first human ship to travel faster than light, using a new quantum drive that Earth scientists had invented just 5 years ago. Send them our coordinates, she told her team. Let's see what they want. 2 hours later, a small shuttle left the alien ship and flew down to the Moon's surface. It landed outside the assembly building with barely a sound. A door opened and 3 aliens stepped out. They looked almost human, but not quite. They were tall and thin, with skin that had a slight blue tint. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, and they had no visible ears. The one in front wore robes made of material that seemed to glow with its own light. I am Ambassador Thexlar of the Chronicle Empire, the alien said. Its mouth didn't move, but words came out anyway, translated by some device. I speak for the Galactic Council on behalf of 7 great civilizations who have maintained peace in this region of space for 5,000 years. The human delegation met them in the main assembly hall. There were representatives from every major nation on Earth, plus the colonies on Mars and Europa. Admiral Chen stood at the front with President Martinez of the United Earth government. Welcome to Earth, President Martinez said carefully. We're honored by your visit. The honor is unnecessary, Thexlar replied. Its voice had no emotion at all. We are here to discuss terms. Terms? Admiral Chen asked. Yes. Terms for Earth's membership in the Galactic Council. Thexlar pulled out a device that projected images in the air. We have observed your species for many centuries. You have finally achieved faster-than-light travel, though your method is unusual. This means you are ready to join galactic civilization. The humans looked at each other. This sounded like good news, but something felt wrong about the way Thexlar was speaking. We welcome the opportunity to join the galactic community, President Martinez said. What would membership involve? Thexlar touched the device and a long list appeared in the air. First, you must surrender all faster-than-light technology to the Council for evaluation and approval. Second, all human expansion into space must be approved by the Council. Third, Earth will pay tribute of 40% of all resources, minerals, food, manufactured goods. Fourth, the Council will establish military bases on Earth, Mars, and Luna to ensure compliance with galactic law. Fifth, wait, Admiral Chen interrupted. Did you say surrender our technology? And 40% tribute? These are standard terms, Thexlar said. All species join under the same conditions. In return, you receive our protection and access to Council trade networks. Protection from what? Asked Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's chief scientist. From those who refuse to join. From pirates and raiders. From yourselves. Thexlar's large eyes looked at them without blinking. Young species often make dangerous mistakes. The Council provides guidance. Admiral Chen felt anger building in her chest. You're not offering membership. You're demanding surrender. We prefer the term integration, Thexlar said. The Galactic Council has maintained order for 5 millennia. All civilized species accept our leadership. Those who refuse are considered rogues and dealt with accordingly. The room went silent. Every human understood the threat. What happens if we refuse? President Martinez asked quietly. Refusal would be unfortunate, Thexlar said. The Council would classify Earth as a rogue element. A compliance fleet would be sent to encourage cooperation. This is always unpleasant for the species involved. We have found that most prefer to accept our generous terms. Admiral Chen stood up. Her voice was calm but firm. Ambassador Thexlar, humanity appreciates your visit. However, we need time to discuss these terms. This is not a decision we can make in a single meeting. Of course, Thexlar said. You have 6 Earth months to consider. We will return for your answer. However, I should warn you, in 5,000 years, no species has ever refused council membership. Those who did no longer exist as independent civilizations. The aliens left the same way they came. Their shuttle flew up to the massive ship, and then the ship disappeared, moving faster than light in a direction humans couldn't track. The assembly hall erupted in noise. Everyone started talking at once. Some wanted to accept the terms. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to run and hide. Admiral Chen raised her hand for silence. When the room was quiet, she spoke. They think we're primitives who will roll over and surrender. They think their technology makes them unbeatable. They think we have no choice. She looked around at the faces of humanity's leaders. They're wrong on all counts. Admiral, President Martinez said carefully, their ship is 3 kilometers long. They have 7 civilizations backing them. They've ruled this part of space for 5,000 years. What chance do we have? Admiral Chen smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had survived in space for 30 years by being smarter than her problems. 6 months, she said. They gave us 6 months to think about it. They have no idea what humans can do in 6 months when our survival is on the line. She looked at Dr. Tanaka. How fast can you weaponize our technology? Dr. Tanaka thought for a moment. Fast, very fast. Good, Admiral Chen said. She turned to the military commanders. Prepare every ship we have. I don't care if it's a colony transport or a mining vessel. If it can fly, I want it armed and ready. Admiral, one of the commanders asked, are we really going to fight the Galactic Council? Admiral Chen's eyes were hard as steel. They came to our home. They threatened our freedom. They think we'll just give up everything we've built. She shook her head. Humanity didn't crawl out of caves, didn't survive ice ages and wars and disasters, didn't reach for the stars, just to become slaves to aliens who think they're better than us. She walked to the window and looked out at Earth. Beautiful and blue in the distance, they wanted an answer. In 6 months, they'll get one. And it will be an answer they never expected. The room was quiet for a moment. Then President Martinez stood up beside the Admiral. Let's get to work, he said. We have a war to prepare for. The humans filed out of the assembly hall, each one knowing their world had just changed forever. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. They had given humanity time to prepare, and they had given humanity a reason to fight. In 6 months, they would learn what happened when you threatened Earth. In 6 months, the galaxy would change forever. The next morning, every factory on Earth changed what it was making. Car factories started building parts for weapons. Electronics companies began working on military systems. Universities canceled regular classes and put every professor to work on the war effort. It was the biggest mobilization in human history. Admiral Chen stood in the command center of the Lunar Defense Station, looking at screens that showed projects happening all over the solar system. Earth, Mars, the Moon, Europa. Every human settlement was working together for the first time ever. Show me what we have, she said to her team. Colonel James Okafor stepped forward. He was a thin man with glasses who looked more like a teacher than a soldier, but he was the best cyber warfare expert humanity had. Admiral, I've analyzed every transmission the Council sent us. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it has a weakness. What weakness? Admiral Chen asked. They've been the dominant power for so long that they've gotten lazy with security. All their ships use the same operating system, same communication protocols, same encryption methods. Colonel Okafor smiled. It's like they all use the same password and never change it. Can you hack them? Given enough time? Yes. I've already started building virus packages that should cause major problems with their systems. When they come back, they'll find their fancy ships aren't as reliable as they think. Admiral Chen nodded. Good, what else? Dr. Yuki Tanaka was next. She was young for a chief scientist, only 35, but brilliant. We've been studying the weapons data from their first visit. The Council uses plasma-based weapons, superheated gas accelerated to high speeds. They use energy shields that deflect other energy weapons. So their shields stop plasma and lasers, Admiral Chen said. What about solid objects? Dr. Tanaka grinned. That's exactly what I thought. Energy shields are designed to deflect energy. They're not made to stop physical projectiles. So we're building railguns. Railguns? Magnetic accelerators that shoot solid metal rods at incredible speeds. We can accelerate a tungsten rod to 5% the speed of light. When something that heavy hits something at that speed, shields won't matter. It's just physics. Momentum equals mass times velocity, and we've got both. Admiral Chen felt hope rising in her chest. How many can you build in 6 months? Thousands. We've already converted 3 asteroid mining facilities into weapons factories. They're perfect for it. They already have the magnetic systems and the raw materials. Every ship will get at least 1 railgun, and the bigger ships will get dozens. The admiral turned to her military commanders. What about our ships? General Martinez, the president's brother, pulled up a display showing every human spacecraft. There weren't many. Humanity had only been in space for a few generations, but what they lacked in numbers, they would make up for in creativity. We have 73 military ships, General Martinez said, not enough to fight a council fleet. But we also have 231 civilian ships, colony transports, mining vessels, research ships, cargo haulers. We're retrofitting all of them with weapons and armor. That's still only 300 ships, someone pointed out. The council might bring thousands. Admiral Chen shook her head. We're not going to fight them ship to ship in a fair battle. We're going to use every advantage we have. She pointed at the star map. Our quantum drives are faster than theirs. We can jump in and out of FTL in seconds. Council ships take minutes. That's our edge. Hit-and-run tactics, Colonel Okafor said, understanding. We strike fast, then disappear before they can respond. Exactly. And while they're trying to figure out where we went, James will be filling their systems with viruses and Yuki's railguns will be punching holes in their ships. Admiral Chen looked around at her team. The Council thinks technology alone wins wars. They've forgotten that wars are won by people, by courage, creativity, and the will to fight for something that matters. Over the next 6 months, the solar system transformed into a fortress. On Earth, factories ran 24 hours a day. New weapons rolled off assembly lines faster than anyone thought possible. Scientists worked in shifts, sleeping in their labs to save time. Children too young to work made food for those who could. Everyone contributed something. On Mars, the colonies dug deep into the red soil, building bunkers and underground bases that could survive almost anything. They built missile silos that could hit targets in orbit. They trained every colonist in basic combat just in case. On the Moon, engineers built massive railgun platforms that could fire across the entire solar system. They installed stealth systems that could hide the platforms from Council sensors. The Moon itself became a weapon. In the asteroid belt, mining facilities were transformed into weapons factories and secret bases. Hundreds of asteroids were fitted with engines and guidance systems, turned into massive kinetic missiles that could be aimed at enemy ships. On Europa and the other outer moons, ice was processed into fuel for ships and reactors. Underground cities were expanded to hold refugees if Earth fell. Nobody said it out loud, but everyone was thinking it. If humanity lost this war, at least some humans might survive in the outer system. And everywhere, Admiral Chen's fleet prepared for battle. The ships didn't look impressive compared to the alien vessel they'd seen. They were smaller, uglier, built for function rather than beauty. But each one carried weapons the Council had never encountered. Each one had a crew ready to die defending their home. Captain Lisa Rodriguez commanded the carrier Defiance, converted from a colony ship that was supposed to take 5,000 people to Alpha Centauri. Now it carried 50 attack craft instead, each one armed with missiles and railguns. She ran combat drills every day until her pilots could launch, attack, and return in under 3 minutes. Commander Tom Chen, no relation to the Admiral, commanded a squadron of 12 fighters called the Lunar Hornets. They were fast, agile, and deadly. He'd trained his pilots in tactics no one had ever used in space before, because no one had ever fought in space before. Humanity would make up the rules as they went. Deep in a secret laboratory on the Moon, Dr. Tanaka's team worked on their most ambitious project. They called it Project Thunderbolt. It was a weapon that would only get one chance to work, but if it did, it would change everything. Are you sure this is possible? Her assistant asked, looking at the calculations. No, Dr. Tanaka admitted, but neither was faster than light travel, and we figured that out. We'll make this work because we have to. As the deadline approached, the solar system fell quiet. The work was done. The weapons were ready. The ships were in position. Now there was nothing to do but wait. Admiral Chen stood in the observation deck of the Lunar Defense Station, looking out at Earth. She thought about her daughter down there, safe in a bunker in Brazil. She thought about her husband who had died on Mars 10 years ago. She thought about all the humans throughout history who had fought for freedom. They think we're primitives, she said quietly to Colonel Okafor, who stood beside her. They think our weapons are crude and our tactics are simple. They're right, Okafor said. Compared to their technology, we are primitive. Admiral Chen smiled. But there's something they don't understand about primitives. We know how to survive. We know how to fight with whatever we have. And we know how to win against stronger enemies because we've been doing it since we lived in caves. She pulled out a small device and pressed a button. All across the solar system, ships received the same message. Take your positions. They'll be here soon. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting for the right of every species in the galaxy to be free. When they come, show them what happens when you threaten humanity. 3 days later, sensors detected massive energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. The Council had returned right on schedule. Admiral Chen looked at the readings. 47 ships, each one bigger than anything humans had built. Weapons that could destroy cities. Shields that could withstand nuclear weapons. An army that had conquered hundreds of worlds. She pressed the communication button. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. The Council fleet has arrived. They think we've spent 6 months considering surrender. Instead, we've spent 6 months preparing for war. Today we show them that humanity doesn't surrender. Today we show them that Earth fights back. All ships weapons free. Let's make history. Across the solar system, human ships powered up their weapons. The trap was ready. The Council was about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The battle for Earth was about to begin. Fleet Commander Zarketh sat in his command chair aboard the Eternal Glory, the flagship of the Vryn Supremacy's compliance fleet. Around him, 46 other Council ships moved in perfect formation through space toward Earth's solar system. He had done this same mission 12 times before, and it always ended the same way. The primitive species saw the fleet's power and surrendered without firing a shot. Status report, he ordered. All ships in position. Commander, his second officer replied. We are approaching the outer planets of the human system. No signs of military activity. No defenses detected. Zarketh made a sound that was the Vryn equivalent of a laugh. Of course not. They probably spent the last 6 months arguing about which surrender speech to use. Prepare the demonstration. The demonstration was standard procedure. They would destroy one of the system's uninhabited moons to show the primitives what would happen to Earth if they refused. It always worked. Seeing a moon vaporized in seconds made species very cooperative. Target Neptune's 4th moon, Zarketh ordered. All ships charge plasma cannons to full power. Let's show these humans why no one refuses the Council. Across the fleet, 47 massive ships powered up their main weapons. Energy readings climbed higher and higher. Zarketh watched with satisfaction. In a few seconds, that moon would be dust and the humans would be on their knees begging to accept the Council's terms. Fire, he commanded. 47 ships fired at once. 47 brilliant beams of superheated plasma shot toward the small moon. Nothing happened. Zarketh stared at his screens in confusion. The weapons had fired, he could see the energy discharge. But the plasma beams had simply disappeared as if they had never existed. What? He began. Then every system on his ship went crazy at once. Warning alarms screamed. His weapons console showed error messages in a language he didn't recognize. His navigation system was displaying something called cat videos from Earth. His shields were cycling on and off randomly. His engines were firing at random intervals, spinning the ship in circles. Report, Zarketh shouted over the alarms. Sir, we've been hit by some kind of cyber attack, his technical officer yelled. The virus is in every system. I can't stop it. How is that possible? Our systems are secure. It's using our own communication protocols against us, sir. It's spreading through the fleet network. Zarketh looked at his fleet status display. Every single ship was showing red warnings. Every ship was compromised. 5,000 years of technological superiority, and these primitives had beaten them with a computer virus. Shut down all network connections, he ordered. Isolate each ship. But it was too late. The virus was already inside every ship, and while Zarketh's fleet was dealing with that problem, they failed to notice the energy signatures appearing all around them. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Chen watched her tactical display light up with targets. Now, she said quietly, all across the Council fleet, human ships appeared out of nowhere. The quantum drives that the Council had dismissed as impossible allowed them to jump in and out of faster-than-light travel almost instantly. 1 second the space was empty. The next second, 300 human ships were there, weapons armed and ready. All ships open fire, Admiral Chen ordered. The railguns fired first. Tungsten rods, each one weighing several tons, accelerated to 5% of light speed. They hit council ships like the fist of an angry god. The energy shields that could deflect plasma. Weapons were useless against solid projectiles, carrying that much kinetic energy. The Eternal Glory shuddered as 3 railgun rounds punched through its shields and hull. Zarketh was thrown from his chair as explosions ripped through his ship. Emergency systems tried to activate but were blocked by the virus. Damage control teams reported fires and hull breaches on 20 decks. Return fire. Zarketh screamed, pulling himself back into his chair. Some ships managed to fire their weapons. Plasma beams shot out toward the human vessels. But the humans were already gone, jumped away to new positions. The plasma hit empty space. The humans appeared again, this time from a different direction. More railgun rounds slammed into council ships. The Vryn cruiser Victorious broke apart, its hull unable to withstand the punishment. The Krynith destroyer Noble Purpose lost all power and drifted helplessly. The Selanther frigate. Peaceful Dawn exploded when a round hit its reactor. Captain Rodriguez watched from the Defiance as her fighters launched. 50 small attack craft screamed toward the council fleet, weaving between the massive enemy ships. They were too small and fast for the council's targeting systems designed to track other large ships. Hornets away, Commander Tom Chen reported. His 12 fighters led the attack, dodging plasma fire that was slow compared to their speed. They got in close to a council battleship and fired missiles directly into its engine ports. The battleship's engines exploded, leaving the ship dead in space. "This is impossible," Zarketh shouted. "They're primitives. They barely have faster-than-light travel. How are they doing this?" His second officer, bleeding from a head wound, had the answer. "They're not fighting like we do, sir. They're using tactics we've never seen. Hit and run. Cyber warfare. Kinetic weapons. They're fighting dirty." Another explosion rocked the Eternal Glory. More railgun rounds had found their mark. Zarketh looked at his tactical display and saw that 17 council ships were already destroyed or disabled. His perfect fleet was being torn apart by these humans and their primitive weapons. "All ships, emergency jump," he ordered. "Get us out of here!" But the virus was still in their systems. Ships tried to jump to faster-than-light speed but ended up going in random directions. Some ships jumped into each other, colliding in flashes of light and debris. Some jumped too deep into the solar system and found themselves facing Earth's planetary defenses. Railguns mounted on the Moon and Mars that opened fire immediately. The Council had expected a quick, easy victory. Instead, they were in a nightmare. Every advantage they thought they had was meaningless. Their bigger ships were just bigger targets. Their energy shields couldn't stop the human weapons. Their numbers didn't matter when the humans could appear and disappear at will. Zarketh watched helplessly as another 3 ships were destroyed. The humans were everywhere and nowhere, striking from impossible angles using weapons that shouldn't work but did, and through it all the virus kept causing chaos, making it impossible to mount any kind of organized defense. A human voice came over the communication system, somehow bypassing the Council's secure channels. It was a female voice, calm and steady. "Council fleet, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth. You came here to force us into submission. You thought we would be easy prey. You were wrong. We are giving you one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we will destroy every single one of your ships." Surrender? The Council fleet surrender to primitives? It was unthinkable. Zarketh would never. The Eternal Glory shook as another barrage hit. 3 more explosions tore through the ship. Fires raged on multiple decks. The hull was breaching in dozens of places. His ship was dying. Zarketh looked at his display. 30 ships destroyed or disabled. The survivors were scattered across the solar system, their formation broken, their systems compromised. He had come with 47 ships to crush these primitives. Now he was the one being crushed. "Sir, we have to go," his second officer said urgently. "If we don't jump now, we won't get another chance." Zarketh knew he was right. Pride wouldn't save them. Only escape would. All ships capable of jumping, emergency retreat. Jump anywhere, just get out of this system. The surviving Council ships, those that could still function, jumped blindly into faster-than-light travel. Some went toward Council space. Some went in random directions just trying to escape. Zarketh's own ship barely made it, jumping just as another railgun round was about to hit. In the command center of the Lunar Defense Station, Admiral Chen watched the Council ships flee. Around her, the command crew erupted in cheers. They had done it. Against all odds, Earth had defeated the Galactic Council's fleet. "Let them go," Admiral Chen said. "Make sure they have time to jump away. I want survivors to carry the message back." "What message, Admiral?" Colonel Okafor asked. Admiral Chen smiled. It was a tired smile, but a proud one. That Earth is not for conquering. That humanity will fight for its freedom. That the Council's age of dominance is over. She looked at the tactical display, showing the debris of Council ships floating in space. 17 destroyed, 23 damaged and captured, 7 had escaped. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had been beaten by a species they considered primitive. "Send a message to all Council frequencies," Admiral Chen ordered. "Tell them that if they come back, the result will be the same. Tell them that humanity is willing to talk peace, but only as equals, never as subjects. Tell them the galaxy has changed, and they need to change with it." As the message was transmitted across the galaxy, the humans began the work of rescuing survivors from the disabled Council ships and cleaning up the battlefield. They had won the first battle, but Admiral Chen knew the war might not be over. Still, they had proven something important. They had proven that courage and creativity could beat superior technology. They had proven that humanity would never surrender its freedom. They had proven that Earth fights. The Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime had been built 5,000 years ago. Its walls were made of crystal that showed the light of 1,000,000,000 stars. 7 thrones sat in a circle, one for each of the great civilizations that ruled this part of the galaxy. For millennia, this chamber had been a place of order and certainty. Today, it was chaos. High Counselor Vexron of the Kryneth Empire slammed his hand on his throne. "This is a disaster. A complete disaster. We sent 47 ships to crush one primitive world, and they destroyed 17 of them. 17! Grand Admiral Thisvara of the Vryn Supremacy was pacing back and forth, her long robes trailing behind her. "Fleet Commander Zarketh is a coward. He should have fought to the last ship instead of retreating." "Easy to say from here," muttered Counselor Drex of the Draxian Confederacy. "You weren't there. The humans used tactics we've never seen. Cyber warfare, kinetic weapons, hit-and-run attacks. They beat us with creativity, not technology." "They beat us with luck," Vexron snapped. "Next time we'll be ready. Next time we'll send 1,000 ships and wipe them out completely." "Will we?" The voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. Wisdom Keeper Selthar of the Selenthir Collective had spoken for the first time. The Selenthir were the oldest species in the Council, and their words carried weight. "Will we really send 1,000 ships to destroy one world? And what happens when other species see that? What happens when they realize the Council can be beaten?" The chamber went silent. That was the real problem, and everyone knew it. The Council's power had always been based on the belief that they were unbeatable. Now that belief was shattered. Vexron pulled up a holographic display. It showed reports flooding in from across Council space. "It's already starting. Resistance movements on 17 worlds. Trade disputes on 32 others. 3 species have stopped paying tribute, claiming they need the resources for self-defense. The humans didn't just beat our fleet. They beat our authority. Then we crush them now before it gets worse," Thisvara said. "Send every ship we have. Make an example of Earth that no one will ever forget. And lose half our fleet fighting primitives with computer viruses and metal rods?" Counselor Drex shook his head. "The humans proved they can hurt us. If we attack again and fail again, the Council is finished." Ambassador Thexlar, who had delivered Earth's original ultimatum, stepped forward. "Perhaps we should consider negotiation." "Negotiation?" Vexron looked at him with disgust. "With primitives who attacked us?" "With a species that defended themselves when we threatened them," Thexlar corrected. "We came to their home and demanded surrender. They responded by defeating our fleet. From a certain perspective, we were the aggressors." "Traitor," Thisvara hissed. "Realist," Thexlar replied calmly. "The humans have already sent a message to every species in Council space." "Shall I play it?" Before anyone could object, he activated the recording. Admiral Chen's face appeared in the center of the chamber. Her voice was clear and strong. "People of the Galactic Council," she began. "My name is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth. 6 months ago, your council came to my world and demanded our surrender. They wanted our technology, our resources, and our freedom. They threatened to destroy us if we refused. We refused. The hologram shifted to show footage of the battle. Council ships burning. Human ships appearing and disappearing. The mighty eternal glory fleeing with its hull breached. Every moment of the Council's humiliation was there for all to see. The Council thought they were invincible. Admiral Chen continued. They thought 5,000 years of dominance meant they would rule forever. They were wrong. Any power built on forcing others to submit is not real power. It's just bullying on a galactic scale. We don't want to rule others. We don't want your territory or your tribute. We want what every thinking being wants, freedom. The freedom to choose our own path. The freedom to make our own mistakes. The freedom to reach for the stars without asking permission. To the Council, we say this. We are willing to talk peace, but only as equals. We will never be your subjects. If you come at us again, we will defend ourselves again, and we will win again. To the other species watching this, we say you don't have to accept the Council's rule. You have the right to be free. If you want to stand up for yourselves, Earth will stand with you. We will share our technology. We will teach you our tactics. Together we can build a galaxy where cooperation replaces domination. The hologram ended. The council chamber was silent. Wisdom Keeper Selthar spoke again. The humans have done something very clever. They haven't just defeated us militarily. They've defeated us ideologically. They've given every oppressed species in the galaxy hope. Then we crush that hope, Vexron said. We destroy Earth and everyone who supports them. With what? Counselor Drex asked. Half our fleet is scared to fight humans now. The other half is needed to keep order in our own territories. We don't have the resources for a war on multiple fronts. Vexron glared at him. Are you suggesting we surrender? I'm suggesting we adapt, Drex said. The universe has changed. We can change with it or we can be swept away by it. Coward, Thyssavara spat. Survivor, Drex replied. The Draxian people have existed for 10,000 years. We've survived by knowing when to fight and when to negotiate. This is a time for negotiation. As the council argued, the galaxy was already changing around them. On the industrial world of Keth 7, workers heard about Earth's victory and stopped their production of tribute goods. On the mining colony of Drax Prime, an entire generation that had never known freedom began to ask why they should accept slavery. On the agricultural planet of Selminor, farmers organized the first strike in 3 centuries. The message spread faster than the council could stop it. Earth had fought back and won. If one species could do it, maybe others could too. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Chen was dealing with the aftermath of victory. 23 disabled council ships had been captured. Thousands of alien survivors needed care. Human medical teams worked alongside alien doctors, learning about each other even as they treated wounds from battle. Commander Zarketh was among the prisoners. He sat in a cell aboard the Defiance, staring at the walls. He had been fleet commander of the Vryn Supremacy's most powerful fleet. Now he was a prisoner of primitives. Admiral Chen came to see him. She stood outside the energy barrier of his cell and studied him for a moment. Why? Zarketh asked finally. Why did you fight? We offered you membership in the greatest civilization in the galaxy. You offered us slavery, Admiral Chen corrected. You demanded we give up our technology, our resources, our freedom. That's not an offer. That's a threat. But we are superior. Our technology, our experience. Your technology didn't save you, Admiral Chen interrupted. Your experience didn't help when we used tactics you'd never seen. Superiority isn't about having the biggest ships or the oldest empire. It's about adapting, learning, surviving. Zarketh was quiet for a moment. What will you do with us? Return you to your people once they're ready to talk. Along with our terms for peace, your terms? Zarketh almost laughed. You think you can dictate terms to the council? Admiral Chen smiled. We already have. The galaxy is watching. Half your member species are considering rebellion. Your council is in crisis. You came here to make us submit. Instead, we've made you irrelevant. She turned to leave, then paused. But we're not like you. We don't want to replace your empire with ours. We want something better. A galaxy where species cooperate instead of dominate. Where strength is used to protect, not oppress. Where everyone has the freedom to reach for the stars. That's impossible, Zarketh said. Species are too different. Too competitive. Only strong central authority maintains order. Maybe for you, Admiral Chen said. But humanity has a saying. Nothing is impossible to those who dare to try. We've already proved that by beating you. Now we're going to prove it again by building something better than your council ever was." She walked away, leaving Zarketh alone with his thoughts. The fleet commander, who had thought this would be an easy mission, sat in his cell and wondered if the human was right. Had the council really become so corrupt, so complacent that primitives could defeat them? More importantly, if one primitive species could win, what would happen when others tried? The answer came 3 days later. 23 species sent messages to Earth, asking for help in gaining their own freedom. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone expected, and at the center of that change was a small blue planet that had dared to fight back. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, a space station hung in neutral space between Earth territory and the Galactic Council's domain. It was called Common Ground, built by humans in record time using materials donated by species who wanted to see the Council's power broken. The station wasn't beautiful like Council architecture. It was functional, built with human pragmatism and efficiency, but it was neutral ground, and that was what mattered. Here, away from both Earth and Nexus Prime, the future of the galaxy would be decided. Admiral Sarah Chen arrived first, along with representatives from Mars, Europa, and the Alpha Centauri colonies. She wore her dress uniform, medals gleaming on her chest. Behind her came Dr. Tanaka, Colonel Okafor, and a delegation of Earth's finest diplomats and scientists. The council arrived in smaller numbers than expected. High Counselor Vexron came, but he looked diminished somehow, less confident. Ambassador Texlar was there, as neutral as ever. Most surprising were the 3 council species that came separately. The Selenther, the Draxian, and the Quilvan had all broken ranks with the Kryneth and Vryn hardliners. But the biggest surprise was the other delegates. 23 species that had been under council rule sent representatives. They stood in the station's main hall, looking at each other with wonder. For the first time in thousands of years, they were here not as subjects, but as equals. The interspecies summit began with Admiral Chen's opening statement. "We are here because the old way is broken," she said, her voice echoing through the hall. "For 5,000 years, the Galactic Council maintained order through force. They kept peace by suppressing anyone who disagreed. They built an empire on the backs of species who had no choice. That ends today." Vexron stood up angrily. "You dare speak to us this way? You who destroyed our ships and took our people prisoner?" "Yes," Admiral Chen said calmly. "Because someone needs to speak truth to power. Your council came to Earth and threatened us. We defended ourselves. Everything that happened after was your choice, not ours." She pulled up a holographic display. "Earth proposes the Galactic Accord, a new framework for cooperation based not on domination but on mutual respect. Here are the principles." The display showed the key points. Every species has the right to govern itself. Technology should be shared freely to benefit all. Trade should be based on fair exchange, not tribute. Military force should be used only for defense, never conquest. Disputes should be resolved through negotiation, not threats. All species, regardless of age or technology, have equal voice. "This is madness," Vexron said. "Equal voice? You would give primitives the same authority as species with millennia of experience?" "Yes," said Wisdom Keeper Selthar of the Selenther, surprising everyone. "Because the humans are right. Our experience has made us arrogant. We forgot that wisdom is not the same as age, and power is not the same as righteousness." Counselor Drex of the Draxian Confederacy stood up. "The Draxian people support the Accord. We were conquered 700 years ago and have never forgotten our freedom. We want to be part of something better than the Council." One by one, other species stood up. The Quilvan, the Torvians, the Melkani. Each one had their own story of oppression under the Council. Each one wanted something better. "And if we refuse?" Vexron asked. "Will you attack us like you attacked our fleet?" Admiral Chen shook her head. "No. Unlike the Council, we won't force anyone to join. If you want to maintain your old ways, that's your choice. But understand this, we're not alone anymore. 40 species have already expressed interest in the Accord. With or without the Council, we're building something new." Thexalar, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "May I ask a question, Admiral Chen?" "Of course. Why?" "You defeated us. You could demand tribute from us the way we demanded it from you. You could force us to surrender our technology. Why offer cooperation instead of domination?" Admiral Chen smiled. "Because we're human. We've learned, through thousands of years of our own history, that empires built on force always fall. But communities built on cooperation can last forever. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to be part of it, as equals, as partners, as friends. She looked around the hall at all the different species. Every one of us comes from a different world. We look different, think different, want different things. But we all have one thing in common. We all want freedom. The freedom to choose our own path. The freedom to make our own mistakes. The freedom to reach for the stars without asking permission. The Galactic Accord offers that freedom, not through force, but through choice. Join us because you want to, not because you have to. The hall was quiet. Then slowly, a delegate from the Melkani stood up. The Melkani people accept the Accord. Another stood. The Torvian collective accepts. Then another and another. Within an hour, 37 species had signed the preliminary agreement. 3 of the original council species, Selenthir, Draxian, and Quilvan, also signed, formally breaking with the old council. Vexaron and the Vryn representative stood alone. The Kryneth and Vryn, the 2 most powerful species in the old council, the ones who had benefited most from the system of domination. "You're making a mistake," Vexaron said. "Order requires hierarchy. Peace requires authority. What you're building will collapse into chaos." "Maybe," Admiral Chen admitted, "but it will be our chaos, our choice, our future. Better to fail reaching for something great than to succeed at something terrible." Vexaron looked at the other delegates, at the species that were abandoning the council for this human dream of equality. Finally, he sat down. He didn't sign the accord, but he didn't walk out either. "We will watch," he said quietly. "We will see if your dream survives reality." "Fair enough," Admiral Chen said. "The door is always open if you change your mind." The summit continued for 3 more days. They worked out the details of the accord, how disputes would be resolved, how technology would be shared, how defense would be coordinated. It wasn't easy. Different species had different needs, different perspectives, different fears, but they worked through it together, as equals. On the final day, 40 species signed the complete Galactic Accord. The Free Systems Alliance was born, not an empire, but a community. Not ruled by force, but governed by cooperation. Earth's quantum drive technology became open source, available to any species that wanted it. Dr. Tanaka's defensive weapons were shared freely, along with training on how to use them. Colonel Okafor set up a cybersecurity network to protect all Alliance members. But the biggest change wasn't technological. It was ideological. The galaxy had lived under the Council's rule for so long that most species had forgotten what freedom felt like. Now they were learning again. 5 years later, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the same observation deck on the Lunar Defense Station where she had watched the Council fleet arrive. But now she was watching something different. A joint human Selenthir Draxian expedition departing for the Andromeda Galaxy. "They're beautiful," Dr. Tanaka said, standing beside her. The ships were a blend of different designs. Human efficiency, Selenthir elegance, Draxian durability. They represented not just technological cooperation, but true partnership. "How many species in the Alliance now?" Admiral Chen asked. 73, Dr. Tanaka replied. "Even the Kryneth and Vryn finally joined last month. Turns out Vexaron was just too proud to admit they needed us. But the new generation of council leaders saw the truth." Admiral Chen smiled. "That's the thing about truth. Eventually everyone sees it." She thought about how much had changed. Earth had gone from being threatened with conquest to being a founding member of the largest peaceful alliance in galactic history. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now partners. Technology was advancing faster than ever because everyone shared their discoveries. But more than that, the galaxy had remembered something important. That freedom matters more than order. That cooperation is stronger than domination. That courage and creativity can overcome any obstacle. "Admiral," Colonel Okafor's voice came through her communicator. "We're getting a signal from the edge of Alliance space. Unknown ships approaching. Might be the Zarthani from the next spiral arm." "Another potential threat?" Admiral Chen asked. "Or another potential ally," Okafor replied. "Either way, we're ready." Admiral Chen looked out at Earth, beautiful and blue as always. She thought about how 6 years ago, she had stood in an assembly hall and declared that humanity would never surrender. That Earth would fight back. They had fought. They had won, and in winning they had changed everything. "Let's go meet them," Admiral Chen said, "and show them what we've built here." Show them that there's a better way than conquest and domination. Show them the Galactic Accord. She left the observation deck and headed to her ship. There would always be new challenges, new threats, new species to meet. But now Earth didn't face them alone. Now humanity had friends, allies, partners who stood together as equals. The galaxy had changed forever. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it had all started because one species, when threatened with submission, had dared to fight back. Earth had not just won a battle. Earth had won something far more important, the freedom to shape its own destiny and help others do the same. Thank you for watching and comment for next part.